Well, the result of the midterm elections will be evident when Congress reconvenes on Tuesday as Republicans take control of both chambers. But there is still one more important election to go, and that is the one for House Speaker. John Boehner expected to clinch it again and lead a newly empowered Republican force. But not all House members want him back. Some conservatives and Tea Party members saying that Mr. Boehner is the wrong choice to lead the House, including Texas Republican Congressman Louis Gohmert, who says he will challenge Boehner and run for Speaker himself. Here's what Gohmert had to say about that earlier today on Fox and Friends.
It really is time for a change. You deceived us when you went to Obama and Pelosi to get your votes for the Cromnibus. You said you'd fight amnesty tooth and nail. You didn't. I was assured by many of our members, oh, Louis, you don't have to worry. This was August of 2010. If we get the majority, Boehner will only serve one term. He will not serve more than one term. Well, they were wrong. I was right. It would take a fight to change speakers, and that's what it's time to do.
So is there a coup by conservatives? John Fund is a columnist for the National Review magazine and joins us now. So, John, is Boehner going to get dumped?
No. He only had a 12-vote Republican cushion 2 years ago, and not enough Republicans defected then to have him lose his job. He'll keep his job. Now, I'm not saying the dissidents don't have legitimate complaints. When you're making the trains run on time in Congress, you sometimes run over common sense and good government. I'm appalled that members of Congress get handed bills that are hundreds of pages long and have 3 hours to read them. But John Boehner doesn't have a plausible alternative that people are rallying around to worry about. For example, if a Paul Ryan were running or someone with stature. But Louis Gohmert, as much as I love Louis is not going to get enough votes to prevent Boehner from winning. And by the way, that would mean then they'd have to come up with somebody else on the Republican side. And I don't know if they would be able to agree on someone.
Well, there's a lot of dissatisfaction over Boehner and his leadership, especially among Tea Party conservatives and others who think that he's been too accommodating, that he's sold out Republican conservative principles. I mean, there really is anger. And all he needs is 29 defections in order to
that
lose
has
his
never
job.
happened in the history of a House that you've had that many defections. In addition,
Boehner
now has a much bigger majority. Remember, his majority was very small 2 years ago. Now, I think then you might have had to make accommodations to get Democrats. If Boehner continues to be accommodating and continues to violate in some people's minds principles with a much bigger majority in a Republican Senate, then the complaints become really legitimate. As of right now, again, if you don't like John Boehner, who's your alternative? I haven't seen anyone who has proven they could do the job better or get the votes to accomplish
What
that.
is the message when some members of the House not only say they're challenging him, but they're not even going to vote for him? Here's Tom
Nancy
Massey.
Pelosi had that problem. She had several Democrats who refused to vote with her over and over again. Didn't affect her power one iota.
You mentioned having the trains run on time or not. Here's what Tom Massey, Republican of North Carolina, said in a statement. Of Kentucky, thank you, saying that he's not going to vote for Boehner. I discovered a significant source of the dysfunction. I watched the House leadership schedule a fiscal crisis in a lame duck session on the last legislative day before Christmas to get maximum leverage over the rank and file members. You said they've misled members. They give members less than 72 hours to read bills over 1,000 pages. I mean, who can do that? And remove members from committees simply because they voted for their principles upon which they campaign. With a process that is broken, is it any wonder that Washington no longer works for the people? But, John, there's a message out there from some who say enough is enough. They don't want to continue this way. They've got to change the way Washington works.
Whatever the House passed the last 2 years was blocked in the Senate by Harry Reid, who had almost no votes allowed. If the Republicans having control of the Senate don't make the thing work, and then I think the complaints again become much more legitimate. But the real complaint that Mr. Massey should have is Harry Reid and the Democratic Senate, because it was basically almost a given that whatever the House sent over was going to die in the Senate.
So now that won't be the case,
now you can really judge. I think you can judge them on their performance and on their promises and on whether they fulfill those commitments.
And finally, Boehner is reelected on Tuesday, as you say, is expected. And there are some votes that peel off. What do you think those anti-Boehner votes will say?
They will say there's some dissatisfaction, and there probably should be. But again, I don't see anyone out there who has demonstrated they can do a better job than John Boehner. It's a very diverse caucus, and who can get the votes to actually become Speaker.
All right, John Fund. That's what makes elections so much fun.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much.